All right, so I've been working away at the tall bike, mostly just labor stuff, stripping paint, cleaning up welds, things like that. Nothing really worth showing, and slowly ordering the components and the rest of the parts. So basically, everything on this bike is going to be new except the frame. So let's go over what I got. Here's a obviously overview. A few simple, straightforward things. Pedals, standard threading, no issues there. Grips, no issues there. So first thing I learned the hard way is about brakes. So I upgraded the wheels to 700C wheels, which are quite larger than a standard 26-inch wheel. What happened is that the brakes would now, the standard set of V brakes that I had would not work. That is because the posts where they mount are set for the height of a 26-inch wheel, which if it's smaller, it means the pads are low down where they contact the rim. But now if you've got an extra 2 inches of wheel circumference, you need to move the pad up, and the brakes that I had were not adjustable enough. So these I got on eBay. They're the only ones I could find. People have made in the past, apparently, different brackets and things, so you could have kind of like an extension here that would allow you to use a standard set of e-brakes on a 26-inch fork with 700C wheels. But none of them are really in production anymore. Every time I found them, they were either back ordered or out of stock or whatever. So these are the only solution that I found. Inherently, they are a longer arm than a V-brake, standard V-brake, and you can see this channel in here allows them to be very height adjustable. So yes, I will likely lose some brake force, but I also don't intend to be flying around on this thing. So this, and I tested it out on the fork that I have, actually worked out very well, perfectly from post to rim, actually even a little too high, so I have to pull it down a little bit. But it will work perfectly, which is very exciting because that was a panic moment for me when I realized that I might not have a way to do brakes. And I don't want to learn how to ride a fixie on a tall bike, so pass on that. I did order a set of, like I said, 700C deep V wheels. So it looks kind of like some of the modern fixies that you see out there. They're not inside, they're actually out on the bike with the mock-up right now. But and obviously the theme will be green, so the wheels match the green, the frame will be orange. A few other simple things. The stem and handlebars. You see this silver collet in here is actually a spacer because I had a difficult time finding a stem that I wanted for a 1-inch steerer. So this is a 1/8 1 1/8 stem with a small spacer. I ordered the spacer. It was stupid. I should have just made one because I had to cut this one up when it got here anyway because it didn't fit at all. So yeah, that sucked. Standard bars, and I might end up having to go with a taller rise bar. Just after I did my first mock-up today, it looked a little precariously bar down, so we'll see what happens when I get it together, but that's a quick and easy fix. Spacers for the threadless headset, which I am transferring to, which is right here. This was picked up on Amazon, like $15 or something, but it was a bit of a challenge to find a 1-inch headset threadless, and will be interesting to see how it works. Seat and seat post, nothing big there. 1-inch seat post, so obviously older frames have slightly different measurements, so that was not a challenge at all to find, just had to know what to look for. Crank will likely be far too large. I think that's a 46 tooth front sprocket there, so I'll likely be making that smaller. So this is a more hill friendly bike. I do live in the country where we do have hills, so definitely not something I'll be able to ride around the neighborhood with that setup. Now this is the single coolest thing that I have discovered while building this bike. You may remember that my frames are Raleigh frames. Raleigh, from England, had some pretty unique thread spacing when they built their machines. So everybody else, I believe, is 24 threads per inch when it comes to bottom brackets, but this is, or Raleigh, so for in their infinite wisdom for many years, did 26 threads per inch. So you really needed to either find a Raleigh bottom bracket or a one-off, very expensive custom jobber from somebody like Phil Woods that had a 26 threads per inch bottom brackets. But those were super expensive and more difficult to find. This is made by Velo Orange Designs. Got it on Amazon. And it is basically a threadless bottom bracket. It disassembles in such a way that this collar right here comes off. This one is fixed. And these expandable collars right here with the little lip and the space, they expand to fill in and press fit in to the bottom bracket hole. So this allows me to use a pretty easy cartridge, awesome bottom bracket without having to hunt for old school stuff that I would have to rebuild and find bearings for. I think it was about $32 sent to my house, so definitely worth it, in my opinion, to have a much more modernized key piece here. And basically you install it by fully removing this side, putting straight through. You take this collar off and crank it all the way in. So this expansion piece here comes off. Crank it all the way in using your bottom bracket tool so that only one side, this side, press fits in. Then you remove this, put the collar back on and put it back in, and then crank this down and this side expands to fit. So really awesome. This is also something you can use if you have somehow managed to bugger up your threads in your bottom bracket. And it honestly is the coolest thing I think I've found about this bike, or this project. So that's that for parts. I have the frame all done. Everything's ready to go. Powder coat came in yesterday, so I'm going to bring this to a buddy of mine who's got a big enough oven to cook it, and he's going to powder coat it for me, and hopefully sometime next week I will have this fully assembled and ready to go. I might not run into any more issues, but we'll do a finish video and see what we got. And with any luck, I'll be ready in time for next week's New Haven bike party. So yeah, that's that.